everyone, my name is Steph and I'm interviewing Alan today on behalf of Healthwatch because they're doing an online carers roadshow, and the subject of this interview today is about the recruitment of carers. So I suppose you have to, like, with you having your own business and someone assisting, so obviously you do you have access to the Access to Work programme? Is help provided for you through that for your work?
Yeah, I have access to work support for help me with my business, and I have a PA. I have a PA who works not a normal 40-hour week, but she assists me if I get tired driving, because I have adapted vehicle that people carry with all kinds of spaceship kind of controls on it, handlebars instead of steering wheels and things. And that's really good for me. And like I say, Access to Work help to provide all this equipment and mobility as well. And she kind of looks after my she looks after the rota for all the carers. I have 3 carers who's on rota mornings, evenings, or full days. On the full days, I like to get out and have some social involvement, like, going to zoos, going to shows and anything, football matches, anything where, it's enjoying your life. Because I don't really want to sit at home.
No, of course not. And I think what's been what I've noticed, I mean, I've only known you for a short time, Alan, from doing this interview. I mean, from me having a physical disability myself, I have cerebral palsy, I'm a wheelchair user, and I think the main thing, women will get onto the carer side in a short while, but it's nice to know that you still live an active life despite your disability. What I always champion is, I think it's very important, is not to let your disability get in the way of how you want to live your life. As long as you have the right support, you can do anything.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be able to survive very well if I didn't have the carers. Like I say, you got to eat and drink and get dressed, and that they provide that. But also, it's about social involvement as well. They talk to me about their days and their lives, because otherwise you'd be kind of sat there on your own. I don't have any family in the area. My family are down in Somerset, and they ring me, but it's not like having a person there, a pair of hands to give you a lift when you need it. But I try to do things myself as much as possible, but I have noticed I'm slowing down a bit, and I'm having to rely on them, more and more. But while I can live independently, I will do. I can please myself what I want to do, and I can drive myself anywhere. If I want to go fishing, I can. So but it's essential that you have the right kind of carers, and the recruitment of them is difficult, because in Bury they have a limited amount of funding, and obviously it's got to go around for everybody. So their rate of pay is somewhat way below the national average, and they are working towards the everyday living rate, but they're not there yet. So recruiting the people is difficult, because they can go to Tesco and get a job there and probably get more money than what we can pay them for care. So that's something that needs to be looked at, because how can you recruit somebody if you haven't got the wages to pay them, So it's something that really Bury's got to look at fairly quickly, I think.
And well, you've talked about the rate of pay, Alan, and stuff. So, have you had any difficulties recruiting carers yourself, or is your support plan been cut back or reduced?
They did talk about reducing it to 4 hours a day, but I did remind them that they've got a duty of care under the Manslaughter Act.
Yeah.
If they made my life worse and anything happened to me, that they be individually and collectively responsible, right? And that's quite a sobering thought when they start to wanting to cut your package and put you in a vulnerable situation. So these people know what they're doing, but I think the training of some of the staff needs to be better, because the guy that came out to talk to me recently, he'd never seen an adapted home. I don't think he'd ever talked to I never talked to a disabled person, I don't think. And I had to show him around and show him what the house looked like, really, and talk to him about what disabled people need. So it's about, they need better disability awareness training, more of training on equipment, because they're making decisions, going to panel with the decisions, and they're making kind of recommendations. How the earth can they do that?
No.
If they don't have the knowledge to know what's there and what's not. So
It's like we're going into a situation with the eyes wide shut. We're in these positions, I suppose, aren't we, where we're making important decisions that will impact people's everyday life, but they don't know what we're going to be presented with when they actually go to see that individual.
that's right. And, you know, if they go into a home and they can see that somebody is really struggling, they've got a duty to care to try and do something about it. But I think what was offered to me, well, we can put you in hospital for the weekend as an emergency cover, or, you know, how about you going into some kind of home where they could look after you better? You know, well, that's not what I want. And I was quite upset about that being offered to me, you know, because that would be.
And nobody wants to end up in hospital, you know, if they can avoid, if someone can avoid going into hospital and things, you know, because there's so much on the news recently, you know, obviously since COVID's been about, and obviously we're going on about shortage of beds, but I suppose like there's been like this thing where they can't release them out of hospital because we've nowhere to put them, really.
Well, on New Year's Day, my carer was sick. The other carer, I only got two at the moment, trying to recruit the third one, but not having much luck. She was kind of had a bad night celebrating or a good night celebrating, and wasn't in any condition to even get out of bed, from what I could gather. So I was stuck. So
Yeah.
there was no way, any kind of emergency numbers or service I could find. So in the end, I managed to find a firm in Bolton, right, that had sent somebody out to me. And unfortunately, they don't have a contract with Berry. So I said, well, I've got an emergency kind of grant rate where in emergency you can use it. So I said I'd use that. But it obviously didn't go down well because they're not on their list in Berry. But
So that created obviously a few issues then, obviously.
yeah, it did cause a lot of issues because what had happened, my PA had already contacted everybody on the list in Berry, the one that Social Service put out, and not one person come back to us offering us any kind of contractor help. So why have a list if nobody's going to be interested in actually taking up the clients? So, you know, things are not right in Berry, and we need some urgent attention, you know. And obviously the Community Care Commission perhaps need to know more about this, I think.
Do you think then Berry, because obviously I don't know like what goes on in other boroughs, but do you think Berry are quite behind and we've got a lot of catching up to do then?
Yeah, I think they know that as well. They know that things are not right, and I think everybody is trying to catch up. But you know, obviously, there's resources are limited, And it's who shouts loudest in the end nowadays, I'm afraid, isn't it?
Yeah,
People
you've got to like fight for everything, for your own things. You
yeah,
know, if
yeah,
you don't do it yourself, no one else will. And I think disabled people like myself, and obviously you know yourself, Alan, we have a lot of day to day. Every day to us is a bit of a challenge, but when you've got these sort of things on top of your everyday challenges, it makes it a lot difficult. And I suppose it can take an impact not only on your physical health, but your mental health as well.
totally right, because I must admit, you start to have suicidal thoughts. You think, is life worth it? Why am I here? Nobody cares. You've got no friends, no family, everybody's disappearing when you want something. So, it's really hard to motivate yourself and keep your spirits up. And I can understand how bad people feel sometimes. And we just need to have a better service. We've got a duty to take care of those people who are isolated. They haven't got a voice, right? So that's what Healthwatch is there for, to listen to those people and take those problems back to the council and whoever the providers are.
I mean, going back to what you said about, that your carers talk to you, about their everyday life, and I had a friend who worked for a caring company, and they were really upset because they wanted to like spend some time with the clients, but they had to stick to the regimented time. There's only so much time you can spend with each client, and I suppose that talking to another person about your day, whether it's your care or not, is really a lifeline for some people who do become very lonely and isolated. Because if we think about it, you know those people may not see anyone else for days on end other than the carers, if they haven't got any family members or friends in the same area. So it's really a lifeline.
I think Berry are just looking at like keeping people alive just about by providing an hour in the morning perhaps to get your breakfast and get you up, limited to that hour, no more. And then, lunchtime, get you a sandwich or something, then evening a meal and get you to bed. And, obviously you need to go to bed fairly early because obviously the people who are providing the service they don't, they're limited to how long they can stay and what time they can come.
And that's bad news in itself, Alan, really, because obviously I'm not sure how old you are, but I presume you're a bit older than me. I'm 29, but you see, if I had carers, and if my bedtime call was like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you just think, well, if it was a non-disabled person who didn't need care, they wouldn't be in bed at 8 o'clock. So why should I be in bed at 8 o'clock? Because that's the only time that carers will come out for the evening call.
Well, that's why I employ my carers privately,
Yeah,
and then I can adjust the times with them. They go out with me, they enjoy themselves. I pay for the lunch or the dinner or the evening meal, and and they're more friends as well.
yeah,
They help you live your life to the full. And
yeah.
and that's what you need. You need that little bit of assistance to get the best out of life.
And I think that it's very important that when you're recruiting carers, that you don't just recruit somebody who sees this as a job. You're just another client on their list, and then they go home. I think it's really important that they build a friendship with you and they build a rapport that you can talk to them, that you will talk to a friend about. It's not just a client a client professional carer relationship. It can also blossom into a friendship as well.
Yeah, I remember that my wife, when she was barely poorly, and she had to have two carers because they're moving around and slinging her and whatever. And what they were doing, they were talking about Coronation Street the night before to each other,
Yeah.
and just like remotely looking after Avril and not even looking at her, just looking at each other and having a conversation, you know,
And
not
that
included.
makes all the difference, don't it? It
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
all the difference.